Hello and welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. How are you this week? I hope you're doing well because both myself and the Chugs are doing great. It's another great week for video games because I played a whole lot. Chugs, what about you?
Yes, I also played a whole lot Uno. Definitely have plenty to talk about. We've been on such a roll. I know we say it every week, but seriously, we've been gaming Uno. We have been gaming.
I would hate to say how in our format how many hours I spent playing video games in the last week. And I will, unfortunately, I will discuss it today. But I've played more video games in the last month, I think, than I have in most of last year. So I'm very, very excited to talk more stuff. What's on your Rolodex of games this week, Chugs?
Sure. So once again, I'm once again continuing my 5-game cycle. I'm not going to go into too much detail about The Witcher 3 because Uno, I know that you're experiencing it for the first time, and part of the specialness of The Witcher 3 is again not really knowing what's coming. But all I'm going to say is I am in the thick of the Hearts of Stone DLC, and I'm just constantly being reminded of how incredible this DLC is. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I really do think it's maybe the best story in the entire game. Absolutely love it. There are plenty of moments where you are shocked. There are plenty of moments where you're laughing, and the entire time you're completely invested. So that's been going really, really well.
If I can interject real quick too, on the Witcher side, I have not advanced, and that is why the Chug is not telling me about the story in detail. But I do want to make a note because a lot of people in our comments section, a lot of people have messaged me personally as well. The second DLC of Witcher 3, I am told, I did not know this, but I am told it is 3 years after the original story ends. And so, yes, every commenter that said it, I will wait to play the second DLC until I finish the first DLC and the main story. We appreciate you telling me that because I would have missed out and probably played through it all the way.
Yeah. So the order for sure is Hearts of Stone, then finish the main game, then play Blood and Wine, which is awesome because lots of times there's this fear that I think Souls games have created in a lot of us, where you feel like, oh, I got to do the DLC before the main game, or I'm going to get locked out of it and I'm not going to be able to play it. That is not the case in The Witcher 3. And actually, again, everyone who commented that, you're absolutely right. In addition to that, though, also continued some more Silent Hill 2 remake. And Uno, last time we talked, I talked about how the Brookhaven Hospital section.
Yes, that's where you were at, right?
Yeah. And to me, one of the most horrifying sections of the game, also one of the best, one of the most interesting. That has changed once again. The prison is now officially the most horrifying section of the entire game. I can't wait to get out of here, dude. It's incredible, but oh my God, is it a lot. It is so intense. So again, aside from how wild the labyrinth is and all the different twists and turns you have to take, there are so many mechanics within this prison section that make it so horrifying. Number one, there's this small little detail, which is just brilliant, where the prison section is dark. And in the remake, you have to flip a switch to make the lights go on so you can kind of see where you're going. And there's just this ticking sound that's happening, because then you start to realize, oh no, the lights are on a timer. So you better hope.
I love when they do this in horror movies. I can't imagine a video game.
It's horrifying. So scary. So then you're so worried and stressed because I'm like, I want to pick up every item I possibly can. Every health drink, every syringe, every piece of ammo. Recently got the rifle, which was really, really exciting. The most powerful weapon in the game. But in addition to the timed feature with the lights, so you know the leg enemies? In Silent Hill 2 Remake, which the Chugs Army, we have coined them Legs Benedict. That is the name of these enemies. Well, now these leg enemies crawl around like spiders, like both on the wall and on top of the ceiling. I do not like spiders.
Are they paired up? Scared of spiders. Are they paired up in multiple legs, or is it still the 2 legs that do this?
It's still the 2 legs.
Okay,
still the 2 legs.
Creepy.
But the
still
way.
Creepy.
It's so creepy. So creepy. So again, I know I say it all the time, and I'm going to talk about this game as long as I continue to play it because it's one of the best horror games I've ever played. But Blooper Team has continued to impress me so much with this remake. It keeps getting scarier. Like it's a lot. Like this is a very intense, like your heart's pounding, your hands are sweaty horror game, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. And also, Uno, I beat my first game in 2025. Me and my brother streamed Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, the new side-scrolling beat 'em up from the Power Rangers series. Uno, it's awesome. Again, I really, really enjoyed Shredder's Revenge, TMNT Shredder's Revenge when I played that. This is just an incredible classic side-scrolling beat 'em up. This really features the original Power Rangers. So, like,
were you a Power Rangers kid when you were a kid as well?
Big time.
Yeah, me too, man.
That was my first favorite thing.
Oh, me too. The first season, the first movie, Von Ooze is still like one of the coolest bad guys in the world.
Ivan Ooze, baby.
Yes,
Ivan Ooze.
And when they finally like they switch over the ninjas at the end and they change swords and stuff, I thought like, oh, this is it. Ninjas, it can't get any cooler than this. Then I actually dropped off from there on. But man,
yes.
It used to be my favorite thing in the world was Power Rangers, and so I'm very excited to play this as well.
I still have memories of it being a kid and taking a cassette tape, and it was the Power Rangers like soundtrack, and I would play that in this cassette player, and me and my brother would jump up and down on our bed and just pretend to be Power Rangers for hours, dude. For hours. We loved it. Could not get enough. We've seen the movie a million times. Can quote so many things from the movie. But anyway, yeah, the Power Rangers game is a blast. Not only because it's a very fun, traditional side-scrolling beat-em-up, and the music is excellent too, by the way, but the change-up of stuff to do is incredible. There's a lot of like on-rail shooting sections or like racing sections where you're on like a motorcycle. And then, of course, there's giant Megazord fights as well that can be pretty challenging, actually. Can be pretty challenging. But it's an incredible side-scrolling beat-em-up. Can't recommend it enough. It took me and my brother about 2.5 hours to beat it. There is additional content. You unlock stuff after beating it for the first time. But Uno, I know you like a good classic side-scrolling beat-em-up. I think you'd really enjoy this one.
I'm really loving like the revamp of all of these old hack and slash games and side-scrolling beat-em-ups. I'm sure that it seems per year we're getting one big one. We got Battletoads, we got Streets of Rage 4. We've got obviously this one, and we had the TMNT one. I'd be curious to see what the next one is. I want to see a Batman one. Give me a Batman one. Get the Bat family involved. Yes, please.
Yes, that'd be awesome. But before I jump into the last game that I played this week, and don't get me wrong, I've actually, of course, I've continued Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, which, by the way, Uno, I do want to mention this. I've gotten to a point now where I'm doing the advanced battles and I'm winning.
Yeah.
I'm getting the hang of it. I mean, versus battles, we'll see. But
oh my god,
but as far as
I actually because you can get currency from the versus battles. I know that almost everyone I face will destroy me. They have better decks and they've played this more. I just concede automatically because if you just concede, it counts as a versus match, and I could still get the currency.
Okay, smart.
I don't advise doing that for other games, but in this one, I just want to open packs, and so I've been doing it almost every day.
Right. It's so good. I don't see myself ever getting sick of opening the Pokemon packs in the trading card game. But once again, before I jump into the last game, there are two things I wanted to note as well, which absolutely relates to video games. I think I had mentioned this before, but I did get a new 1 terabyte SD card for my Switch, which may sound very silly considering the Switch 2 is coming out this year, but there are still a lot of Switch games I want to add to my collection. So, Uno, it took me a couple days, but I finally got everything transferred over to my 1 terabyte SD card. I have so much more space now, which is incredible. So now I can very easily get Mario Party Jamboree, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Echoes of Wisdom. I got more space, so I'm happy. I definitely spent.
What's that first one you're gonna play?
Oh, probably Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Yeah, probably that one. I love. We are so long overdue for a new side-scrolling Donkey Kong game.
It's kind of weird that they've come out with these remakes over the last 10 years, twice over, and and most people don't realize that it's not a new game. Give me new Donkey Kong. I've played all these games before. I'll play them again. Don't worry. I will do it.
Right.
But give me a new one. Give me a new one. It can't be that hard to make. We're going to talk about Metroidvanias and side-scrollers shortly. And how has there not been... Actually, now that I think about it, how has Donkey Kong not done a Metroidvania-style game?
Great point. They've done the 3D platformer.
Yes.
They've done the side-scrolling platformer. Donkey Kong in a Metroidvania sense that'd be awesome.
Yeah, because
be really, really
you're
cool.
already doing side-scrolling levels if they were just spread out on a giant map and you had some of the abilities, or maybe like if it's not an ability, it's switching through the Kongs because there's so many different Kongs with different abilities built in. All I'm saying, get on that, Nintendo. Get on that.
Dude, a Donkey Kong Metroidvania would be sweet. But speaking of stuff that is a little bit different, Uno, I'm continuing to watch the Secret Level series on Amazon.
Yes.
And I just wanted to mention this. I finally watched the Pac-Man episode. Have you seen this?
So I haven't watched any of Secret Level yet, or have even heard of this Pac-Man level. Do tell.
Okay. There is, and again, I don't want to say too much because this is absolutely one of those things that I don't want to spoil for those who haven't seen it. For those who have, you'll totally understand why, because anyone who hasn't seen it, I want them to watch it. The Pac-Man episode in Secret Level is the most bizarre, wild, and out there concept of what Pac-Man is, and it's awesome. It is so.
Can I watch these out of order? Like, could I just jump into the Pac-Man? Okay, you know what?
Yep, 100%.
That's my. By next week, I will watch that episode. We'll discuss it for sure.
And I think it's 15 or 20 minutes. It's not that long at all.
Even better.
Yeah, you can jump all around the season. Like the first episode I watched was the Warhammer episode, and that was episode 5. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure and mention it, especially hoping, Uno, that you'll end up checking it out. But dude, it is bizarre, but it's incredible. And then I saved this game for last because I know that you also are playing this. But Uno, I think I am very, very close to finishing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And I just did want to mention that, again, as amazing as the platforming is and the boss fights and the exploration and everything Metroidvania about this game absolutely rules. But the last 2 boss fights I've done are 2 of the best boss fights in the game. The Varum fight and the King Darius fight were incredible fights. So good. It has me very nervous about this final boss because the bosses are getting very difficult. But man, those last 2 bosses were just incredible. And I know that you're also playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
So very surprisingly, no, not surprising that I'm playing it, but very surprisingly, we've now reached the same point at the same time. I just fought the king today. Just this morning. As far as what I video gamed this week, we talked about Pokemon. I did a little bit of that. I dabbled in that. Yeah. But most of my time this week was Prince of Persia. I got so addicted to playing the game. We talked about it last week a little bit, and I was really enamored by the platforming and how challenging it was. And last week, what I didn't realize is I wasn't even close to nearing the end of the game. I was actually reaching closer to the midway point. And from the midway point onwards, if I thought it was challenging for the first half of the game, the second half of the game is a real test to video game players, especially if you're big into platforming. The combat for the bosses, incredibly difficult, but in a good way. I got to a point where I was not overpowered, but I had enough health that I could attack anything that wasn't a boss and be completely fine. But the platforming themselves, there are little portions of this game that on their own took me 2 to 3 hours because I just had to repeat one thing and try to perfect it until I did it. All to say, I spent over 25 hours playing the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown this week. I am finally nearing the end. I know this because I did all the side content. I did and opened all of the chests with the exclusion of one that I can't figure out. I did the architect mission, which is doing those big puzzle chests that, like, you have to contextually figure out from the background what the puzzle is and solve it. I did all of that stuff. I'm at the king. I have not beaten it yet because we had to record this podcast, but I'm confident I can. Now, I'm actually worried about the final boss because the king and the previous Varnum fight, and I could... spoilers to everyone, we're discussing the late game here. Likely, the last bit is going to be Varnum again.
You would think.
The Varnum fight, I think, is the hardest fight I've had in the game as of yet. And this was, like, before another huge fight. The king, what's his last name for the king?
King Darius.
Darius, yes. That fight has been incredible, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been very challenging, but I know I can achieve it. The Varnum one I felt was on the brink of being so difficult that I was like, wow, I'll never be this good at a video game. I ended up defeating him, not a problem. I'm really worried about this final fight because if Varnum was tough, I'm not that much stronger than I was previously. I know I can complete it, but I think this is going to be one of those that I take like 15 tries to try and beat this boss.
And I think I'm with you, Uno, because I talked to a friend of mine who did finish the game, and he didn't even tell me who the final boss was, but he laughed and said, just a heads up, the final boss is very hard. And this guy's very good.
It's a mutual friend of ours, and he beats everything way before we do, for sure.
Way before.
And on another topic too, there's a whole DLC of content as well for this game. I'm not quite sure what it's about. In fact, I kind of want to finish the game before I jump into it for sure. But I think I will definitely jump into the DLC after this. That's how much I've enjoyed this game. It's we keep saying it. You've championed it for a year, and now that I've played it a ton, I'm championing it as well. But it's criminal how little people talk about this game, because this might very well be one of the best Metroidvania games I've played in the last decade, at least. And a lot of the previous ones, I think I'm enamored with nostalgia, whereas this one has a little bit of everything. Incredible voice acting, the graphics are incredible. It's a big world. Like I'm 35 hours in, and I'm nearing the point where I've done almost everything. The bosses are incredibly difficult. The combat is great. The platforming is great. The voice, the story and the voice acting, especially. Like I didn't realize I would be very likely or very often I play these Metroidvania games, and the story aspect of it, with the exception of maybe Hollow Knight, I don't really care that much. It's really about getting my power and advancing to another thing. This one has a very interesting time mechanic story. And a quick spoiler, but about being in a bubble of time where multiple passing of the same character lives in this time. So you like see your characters through different phases of going to that bubble and fight that character, including other characters go through this bubble numerous times. And so you might see them multiple times as well. It's got a very like a mind-bending situation where trying to piece it together at the beginning, I didn't actually get to where we are now. Like there was actually surprises, including the Varnum stuff, that I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense if I refer back to the beginning of the game now. So I'm very excited to see the completion of it, and I'd be very interested to see what kind of story the DLC has as well, because it's been a great time to play the Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. If you're not playing it, you should really do that.
Seriously, especially if you're a Metroidvania fan. But I do just, again, I want to say, Uno, it's so awesome that you're enjoying the game so much, and I am so incredibly impressed at how much you progressed in such a short amount of time, man. That's incredible. Clearly, you love this game.
I was so fixated.
This game. Yeah.
And then on the other stuff, so I played mostly Prince of Persia, but also I mentioned these last week, but Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, I completed that game last time. I told you I was 4 puzzles away. I was right, exactly 4 puzzles. I reached the ending 100%. With the exception, actually, there's 3 single dollars in there I have to find, but I'm not going to go back through that mansion. I've done enough puzzle solving. I think I'm done for that. I played the DLC portion, or the second version of The Root Trees Are Dead. That's an incredible game. It's still up on my list of Game of the Year. Prince of Persia is on there too. I know it's last year's game, but I don't care. I get to make my own rules. That's exactly making it right now. And then finally, I ended up putting a few hours into a game that was suggested to me called Sorry We're Closed. And Sorry We're Closed is a mixture between a first-person and a third-person action game. Most of the story is played in third-person world, where you are in like this little village, and the village, kind of like Persona, leads into an underground subway, but the underground subway gets to like an underworld where there are demons and stuff. And it's got a very interesting like aesthetic. It kind of makes me think of Paradise Killer, if you ever played that game, where it's like a mixture of very, very hypersexualized anime characters that shouldn't be in those in those positions, and like very, very colorful stuff. I'm not very deep into it, but I am enjoying it as of yet. About an hour or 2 in, and I'll probably report back next week to talk more about it. But that's been a lot of fun, and probably in the next week I know, what are we, next week I know we're going to be talking about a big title for sure, but expect me to talk about the end of Prince of Persia, Sorry We're Closed, and both of us are going to be talking about a big title next week for sure.
Big time. Yeah.
But that's it I did this week. Other than that, not on the video game spectrum, but I watched so many martial arts movies in the last few days.
Nice.
It made me really want. Did you ever play through Sifu?
The only time I played a little bit of that game, Uno, was with you on the AEW Twitch channel.
Well, it made me really want to go back and play that game because I've been watching so much martial arts stuff. It's kind of baffling that we have a lot of fighting games, but we don't have a lot of fighting games that emulate the style from the movies. And I'd be very curious to see if there's any suggestions out there of video games that are very martial arts heavy. Put them in the comments down below, youtube.com/AEW Games. I will check those comments. Greatly appreciated to all of you. That's it I did for video games this week. I know you're done as well, right?
Yeah, that's about it. Again, just continuing through that cycle. So glad to beat my first game of 2025 with Rita's Rewind. And again, just some really cool outside gaming stuff too with the secret level episodes. And I'm beyond happy about my 1 terabyte SD card on my Switch. But yeah, tons of gaming. Lots of good progress this week. Lots of good progress.
Well, the tab is 1 Chugs. I've got 2 under my name right now. They're much shorter games. Nice. But I'm very close. We're probably going to finish Prince of Persia at the same time as well. So
I think so. I think probably next week.
Yeah, we'll have a new tally by next week for sure. Anyways, we're not done with the episode because there's a ton of news, and it's coming right after this. And we're back. Welcome back. It's time to talk the news of the week. We're in February, and there's a few little pieces. But before that, are you an AEW insider? Get early access to ticket pre-sales, special merchandise offers, and more straight to your inbox. Sign up today at awtix.com. Last week, we talked about Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Well, we're talking about it again this week because EA went out and suggested that if Dragon Age, the Veilguard was a live service, they believe they would have made more money and it would have sold better, which brings up a larger question. Does that mean they're going to turn Mass Effect 5 into a live service game? Now, the EA executive Andrew Wilson and Stuart Canfield suggested that it would have sold more if it was a live service game, and we do know that that is the major live focus or major focus of EA now is Mass Effect 5. It has not been confirmed what kind of game Mass Effect 5 is. We only know the title. We don't know what kind of game it should be. Truthfully, it should be like Mass Effect 3 and 4, where it is a bunch of stories where you are picking your characters and your path is what is decided. Now, do we think with the downsizing of BioWare, with the downsizing of EA, and with hopefully, I would assume the scale of Mass Effect is probably going to be smaller now that they've laid off people and also Veilguard hasn't done well. Do you think they make the mistake on top of that to make this a live service game? I want to remind you, they did cancel their last single player RPG, which was Anthem before that.
Right. Right.
So are they getting cold feet? Do you think they're going to do this?
I certainly hope not.
Me too.
And I don't think that would be the case. I think, once again, Mass Effect is probably the most beloved EA franchise. I really do feel that. Like, people are so passionate about Mass Effect. And I think they know that this is a very, very important task ahead of them, and that a lot of the audience wants a bigger and better Mass Effect. I totally understand what you mean with this downsizing and things like that. But I think it's incredibly important. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think it's incredibly important that Mass Effect stays Mass Effect. I really, really do.
Me too.
And I don't think, again, anything's possible, but I don't think that EA is going to go that route. I understand the concern, but I don't think EA is going to go that route. What do you think?
I think there's so many examples of live service games not making it through. Yes. And the thing that has always fascinated me is that live service games is intended to extend the lifespan of a video game. But a lot of times what happens is it burns people, and then people end up either boycotting or jumping to another live service game because they're so comparable one-to-one. Whereas like a story RPG game, it could be Mass Effect 5 could be very similar to the previous games. It could be even similar to Dragon Age Veilguard. But people are going to want to go and learn about this story. Whereas if it was a one-for-one change from, let's say, Marvel Rivals, but it's just Mass Effect, they would never do this, but let's hope that it's not. There's something to compare to, and if you're going to financially be investing in it continuously, people have already picked their live service game. It's going to be very hard to get people away from that. Destiny's another example of this for sure. I don't think they're going to do this. I don't either. I think EA's taken enough hits to the chin that it would be very silly for them to divert from expectations on this one. But I would not be surprised if their other project beyond this game is a live service game. I don't know what they could do with that. No clue what they could potentially be working on. But
because go ahead. Sorry,
I was gonna. But I truthfully do not think they're gonna do that. It would be very foolish for them to make Mass Effect 5 when the first 4 Mass Effects are so beloved, and the structure of those games is part of why, right? If you change that structure to something else, I don't think people will enjoy it nearly as much.
Right, exactly. And exactly what you said, Uno, where you had mentioned that, of course, they could be working on a future project that is indeed live service, which I really do think that clearly will be the case. I'm sure EA at some point will release a live service game. But yeah, when you look at like every top 100 video game list of all time, Mass Effect is somewhere on it. Like these games are so loved. So I think EA knows, once again, how special this franchise is. And I don't think they're going to go the route of live service. I think this needs to be a Mass Effect game, and I think EA knows that.
The thing that's always surprised me, too, is they have these licenses for all kinds of sports stuff, and those could easily be live service games, but doing that as a live service game would probably be a disservice because every year they'll sell a bunch of that game regardless. You just put a new number on it. It doesn't matter how it is. People end up buying it. So I don't know. I'd be very curious to see what they end up doing with this.
Yeah, me too.
Another news that's sort of recycled from last week. Last week we talked about Bloodborne. We talked about how Sony went and attacked a Bloodborne mod for a PS4 rip on emulation to make it 60 frames per second. Why would they do this? The thing happened, it released 4 years ago. Well, this is not the first time. There was a Bloodborne Mario Kart game that ended up getting a cease and desist a few years ago. And now just recently, and this is the first time I heard about this, we talked about this a little beforehand. I'm a little upset because I wish I had gotten this beforehand. But Sony has apparently sent another copyright claim, this one for a Bloodborne PS1 demake. So one person went and made the entirety of Bloodborne on PlayStation 1. I believe it's called Bloodborne PSX Online. This has been available, I believe, for a year or two at this point. So it's not super fresh, but it is still more recent than the modded version. But Sony's gone out of their way and have sent a copyright claim on that. And so that will no longer be available publicly. One, that sucks. But they own the IP. Nintendo does this all the time. You can't be entirely mad at that. Two, we're getting Bloodborne, right?
We gotta be.
Like, why would you do this?
Claims?
Yeah, why would you do this if there's no Bloodborne plans? I mean, you're just gonna aggravate and build up all this hate towards Sony without providing the thing that people want. I think this is all a sign that by summer's time, when they drop their big Sony Direct or whatever it's called,
State of Play. Yep.
State of Play. Thank you very much. We're getting it. I think we have to get some form of remaster, and maybe just a title screen for Bloodborne 2.
Yes, something Bloodborne is certainly on the horizon. Like it's wild that, because again, this demake, and also as far as I know, I could be totally wrong, but the little section that I've seen, because I have seen footage of this demake, it's unbelievable. It's literally Bloodborne PlayStation 1. It's so cool. But it went all the way up to the Cleric Beast, and then that was all I saw. So I don't know if they continued and made again even more, but nonetheless, that whole section was so cool. And again, I think I watched footage of this 2 years ago. So like for them to come out of the woodwork now and send that cease and desist or make sure it gets taken down. Again, I'm with you, Uno. The part of my brain immediately goes, we're going to get some sort of announcement regarding Bloodborne this year, which would make so many people so happy.
Yes, it'd be worth all of this like temporary hate you're getting if you're just going to tell us Bloodborne is coming out. So yeah, I'm hoping Sony. I hope you're doing all this stuff in preparation to make us happy, because otherwise, Sony, you've done a lot of bad things recently, and people are kind of on your case. Give us a little, dangle a little carrot in front of us, please.
Right, just a little Bloodborne carrot, just a tiny little Bloodborne carrot.
Just a small one. That's all I need. More news here. This one is about Mega Man. Mega Man, we haven't seen a release in a couple of years now, but Mega Man 11, that was the game I believe that came out in 2018. Mega Man 10 and 11 was it 10 or no? 11 and 12 were the big release, I believe, for Mega Man recently. It is now, as of December 31st, 2024, the highest selling video game of the entire franchise. So that includes Mega Man 2, which sold 1.51 million, Mega Man Legacy Collection, which sold 1.6 million. This has now sold 2 million copies, making it the very best selling Mega Man game. Do you think we're getting a new Mega Man now?
I certainly hope so. I mean, again, Mega Man is that franchise that has just continued to live on time and time again, whether it's the Legacy collections. I bought every single Mega Man Legacy collection. I've got it. I got the first Legacy collection, the second one, the one with the Game Boy Advance games, the Mega Man Zero collection. Like, Mega Man is such an iconic video game franchise. And clearly, with Mega Man 11 selling 2 million copies and being the highest selling Mega Man game from the franchise, that's a very good sign that people are continuing to be interested in Mega Man. So absolutely, I think Mega Man is one of those video game characters that will never go away, and I'm hoping for years and years and years we continue to get new Mega Man games over and over again. So I hope so. I hope this means that we have another Mega Man coming very, very soon.
I'm in the same boat. I really hope we do get a new Mega Man game. I would be surprised if we get like a Mega Man Legends again. I feel like those, while liked, don't universally sell as much as like a Mega Man proper. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Mega Man 13, or if they just restarted from scratch and just made a new Mega Man. You know, I don't know who would launch that. Capcom that could be on any. They could be on any console. It could be on all of the consoles. But I feel like a proper new Mega Man, we're probably not that far from, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Another piece of news. This one is about Onimusha. We know that Onimusha is having a brand new game coming out in 2016, I believe. At least that is the rumored year, or at least what they claim is the year. No platform announced quite yet. Well, we're getting a Onimusha 2 modern remaster this year. So a brand new remaster of Onimusha 2, which will release on PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. So Switch as well. Very surprising there. This was a PS2 game originally in 2002. And this is actually the second remaster in the series. There was one in 2018 for the original Onimusha. They also said that they are working on Onimusha Way of the Sword in the next one in 2026, and that they also may be remastering other games in the future. So I think this is all in the ramp up for this new Onimusha. You might as well remaster them and make a few sales while your marketing machine is also driving this interest for the brand new game. I've actually played none of these games before.
Dude, same here.
Yeah.
I have been meaning to try an Onimusha game for so long. I've been told over and over again I would love them. And I just once again want to say, and this is the case for Onimusha, but just gaming in general, I am so thankful for all these remasters and remakes because getting the chance to play some of these classic titles with updated graphics, or maybe better quality of life improvements or controls, or just getting that franchise back into the limelight a little bit is great, because there's just so many games constantly coming out. So I love that we live in a time where we're getting so many different remasters and re-releases and things like that, because Onimusha has been a series I've wanted to try for a really, really long time. And now it looks like I have no excuse. I got to add this to the backlog as well.
Same. I mean, I've never played one of the games, but I've always wanted to. It's just never felt. It's very weird to go back to old third-person action games on PS1, PS2, because the looks don't age very well, and sometimes mechanically, when you've played new ones, you realize, these don't have the new mechanics to help. You know, maybe the parry window is different. Maybe there is no roll, and it's just about dodging backwards, stuff like that. So I'm very excited at the concept of them remaking these, because that, to me, the ease of access of these remasters, being able to play it on the go on my Steam Deck, even on my Switch now that it's announced, makes me want to play these games. It's the same thing with Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden Remaster came out.
Yes.
I'm going to play that too. Very excited for that. Very excited for the next one. And so, yeah, I'm very excited they're doing it as well. And I would say 7 out of 10 remasters are incredible and almost a better version of the original. So I'd be very excited to see if this has, some actual weight put into it, and it's not just a remaster on a visual side. Not going from 720 to 1080 or something.
Right.
And then our final piece of news. This one's a short one, but this one's, I guess, a good one because a lot of people have been questioning. We haven't heard about GTA 6. We were supposed to get that. There was all these teasers, much like Silksong. People are reading into all these posts or reading about these dates, and they're like, "Why haven't we seen another trailer for GTA 6?" Well, Take-Two Interactive has come out and said that yes, GTA 6 is still on track to release this fall. Yes. Which means we're probably still a few months away from a trailer. Probably Summer Game Fest. Does that make sense to you?
That's my guess too. I'm also guessing Summer Games Fest because, again, as we know as well, GTA 6 is one of those games where it could never show a trailer at all and just say, "All right, it's out," and it's going to sell millions and millions of copies. But I could see what a great way to highlight Summer Games Fest is always an excellent event. But I don't think we're going to get a trailer before Summer Games Fest. I could see it just a little bit, a few months before. But yeah, I'm with you on that one, Uno. And it's great news that GTA 6 has confirmed that it's still very much scheduled for a fall 2025 release, which is once again shaping up this year to just be one of the best ever.
Oh, I mean, we have so many things coming out, and we don't even really know all of it. That's the crazy part.
Right. Exactly.
I'm excited for this, obviously. Who is not excited for GTA? The thing that I'm always curious about is this is such a big thing. They could just drop it on their own, no problem.
Yep.
I'm actually curious to know if Summer Game Fest purchases the rights to announce certain things, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you have a budget aligned to essentially make offers to developers like, "Hey, we'll give you this much money if you announce exclusively on our show." I feel like if you're Summer Game Fest or you're one of the top 3 or Microsoft or Sony, you're like, "Hey, look, don't release this. I will give you millions of dollars if you put the GTA 6 trailer on our announcement first." Just because having that first announcement be on either a console or at Summer Game Fest puts so much weight on those things. There's got to be money in play at this point. I mean, why just release it on its own if you can make an extra few $1 million out of it?
There has to be, right? Because, Uno, I'm so glad you brought that up because I've thought about this before, too. Because for major titles, like whether it's like a Kojima game or, like you said, GTA 6 or Halo or Gears of War or Ghost of Yotei or whatever, like these really, really big titles, of course, Summer Games Fest wants to be able to have the ability to announce or showcase or put the trailer on their show to bring more attention to their show. But then for like a smaller title, it would mean the entire world for them to be featured at Summer Games Fest, where I can only imagine people wanting to pay to be able to release their trailer on that show. So it is very interesting, how the money is transacted in that sense for super big titles or for titles that are trying to get their name out there. I'm very curious about that too.
We probably will never hear about it because once you start hearing about the money, people will get sour on the concepts. But there's got to be money at play here. If you're the largest media property to ever happen, and you have a sequel, someone's got to be paying to get those rights to the trailer. And so I'm sure if we get anything, if it's not straight from Rockstar, it will wait till summer unless it's a Switch 2 title in April, which. If the biggest boss spoof of Nintendo of all time, if they do that, but I would be very surprised. If they're like Switch 2, not a kid's game, and they drop GTA 6, I think, you know what, Nintendo, way to go.
Oh, dude, that would
immense.
Be unreal. That would be
but
unreal.
probably not possible.
You're right.
Where do you think GTA 6 is going to be dropped? Do you think Rockstar does it themselves, or do you think it's going to drop on one of either Xbox, Nintendo, Sony, or at the Jeff Keighley events. Let me know down below, youtube.com/AEW Games. Let us know in the comments. Evil Uno will read them. That's it for the news this week. Well, there's other pieces of news. If we missed anything, do let us know down below. We'll talk about it next week. But before we go for the rest of the day, we have one more segment. It's our favorite one, and it comes out right after this. And we're back. It's finally that time. It's time for the community mailbag, our favorite segment of the show. Me and Chugs are always excited for your questions. But before that, we have to thank our sponsors, Upper Deck, who bring you this segment every single week. Collect your favorite wrestlers in 2024's Upper Deck AEW, or in their new pack, AEW Allure, which we have today. Start your trading card collection today. Unwrap autographs, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. Chug, what do we have in the Allure pack? Which, by the way, I've seen none of these, and so if there's one of me, I'm excited.
Yes, well, Uno, I just opened this brand new Allure pack, and let me just say, these cards look awesome. I also have not looked through them, but this first card, look at this Samoa Joe card.
Whoa,
that looks
sick. I love. Oh,
look at that.
Hey, keep that one. Reynolds will gladly want that one for sure. Dude, all of these look great.
Whoa, yeah, these look incredible. There's so many shinies. Oh, look at that.
Wow, with the belt.
Dude, these cards
these are really cool. Look, I'm gonna I know this is our sponsor, but I'm gonna go buy a pack after this.
No, seriously. Yeah, these cards look incredible.
The
all of them
Butcher.
look amazing.
Yeah, everyone looks to their best here. Matthew Jackson.
Matt Jackson. There we go.
Right back to Samoa Joe.
Wow, dude. Wow. Okay, yeah, the shiny Allure cards are amazing. Every single one was shiny.
They were all very cool. They all look special. You can get an Allure pack or an Upper Deck AEW pack from 2024. And also the previous packs as well. All you got to do is visit upperdeck.com to learn more. Thank you, Upper Deck, for sponsoring this episode. As always, Chugs, we've got 3 questions. People sent their question at tbs.com/arcade mailbag. You can do so as well. We answer 3 questions at the end of the show, every single show. Chugs, lead it on. You can read number 1.
You got it. And first and foremost, our first question for today is from Zvi Hander. Thank you very much. He says, hey guys, what is your big idea for a video game that you would make if you had unlimited resources to pull it off? Ooh. This is such a good question. So for me, thinking about this question, I was thinking more and more about how I'm incredibly close to finishing Astrobot. And I love so much. One of my favorite things about Astrobot is that it so much feels like this giant love letter to the video game industry, with showcasing all these different characters from Resident Evil, Metal Gear, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. It has everything you can think of when it comes to a Sony franchise. And then looking at something like Kingdom Hearts, for example, where it showcases all these different Disney characters and all these different worlds and Disneylands that you can go to, no pun intended. But I would love the idea, seriously. I don't even know exactly how it would work, but like a giant open world video game that was beyond massive, that highlighted like practically every major video game character. I would love to play a game where I could encounter Geralt and fight a monster with him. I would like to also go to an area where I'm with Solid Snake and I have to sneak through a certain area. I would like to go through another area or level where I'm running and gunning with Master Chief. I would love like an open world video game if I had unlimited resources to make all these different worlds and everything wrapped into one, like the ultimate love letter to so many different video game franchises. I think that'd be my dream scenario. That'd be my dream scenario.
It's almost you ever see that movie Ready Player One? This is just exactly. Like a cross of every brand in the world. Or like Wreck-It Ralph did it with Nintendo and Sega as well. But like, yeah, anytime. I love Mario and Sonic Olympics because to me, my child brain is like, I cannot believe they're in the same video game. They were mortal enemies when I was a child. And so if you did that with a large-scale video game, I mean, obviously everyone would make money. Fortnite is the closest example of this, but if it was a true open-world game, that would make a ton of cash.
Yeah.
Great one, Chugs. I actually have 3. These are smaller projects, but I'll get through this. I talked about one already. Donkey Kong Metroidvania. Get out of your way.
Yes.
Give me one of those. Play to my sensibilities and what I love. Give me Donkey Kong. Give me Metroidvania. 2, I've talked about this a lot. Actually, all 3 of the ones I'm going to talk about, I've talked about a ton in the past, but I don't care recycling these. I want them enough. Simpson Hit and Run 2. The Simpson open world game that ruled. Why have we not done another one? We made The Simpsons game, the movie, which was good, but we haven't gone in like a vehicle, maneuver around, get to choose which character you are, get to choose what outfit. The Simpsons is such a, especially now with like, I think it's 30 plus seasons, it's still one of the biggest media properties out there, especially in the cartoon world. Drop Hit and Run 2. You'll make a ton of money. And then finally, I've talked about this one a ton, but AEW has a video game, but AEW should invest in this idea as their next video game. Bring back vehicular combat games and make an AEW one. So many of us have either come into the ring with a car or a horse or some kind of vehicle that I think it could be done. You know, like Sting and Darby on a big casket car. Beautiful. Chugs and a boommobile of some kind. You want to be on a chopper? You a chopper guy? You think?
Oh, I could be a chopper.
Yeah, you could be a chopper guy. Why not? FTR drove in with a truck when they did their debut. Dark Order, the entirety of the Dark Order in a little clown car just bleeding out. That would be insane. Or on a lawnmower with Mr. Brody Lee. There's a ton of stuff you could do with that, and I feel like the market in vehicular combat games is free for the taking. Nobody's doing them. Bring them back. Bring them back. Or just make Twisted Metal. You could do that too, but put Evil Uno in it while you're
right. Uno, I love those ideas. Great ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yes. Thank you very much for the question.
Thanks for the question. Great question. Next one comes from Jeremy. Hey, Chugs and Uno. Love the podcast, and big shout out to Uno for returning to Twitch. It's about time. Hey, thank you. Yeah. I took the week off. I'm out of town, but I'll be back on Twitch next week. I want to ask the both of you, how have your tastes in video game changed over time? When I was younger, I spent most of my time playing competitive games like Counter-Strike and Dota 2, but I find that I just don't have the ability or the interest in those types of games anymore. Nowadays, I gravitate towards way more chill games like Satisfactory and Balatro. How about you? Well, I'll go into this if you don't mind first.
Sure.
When I play video games, other than like 3D platformers, the big thing I would play was JRPGs. You know, Final Fantasy, Breath, the Mana games, Evo, all kinds of video games. If it was lengthy and it had a story, I loved it. I'm an adult now, and if it's lengthy and it has a story, I can't consume it. The games are too big. I love Persona games. I love Metaphor. It's so big of a game that it dominates my life for a quarter of a year. And that's too much time for a video game, I think. Especially one that is so heavy on watching and so little on video game playing. Nowadays, I gravitate way more on shorter experiences and experiences that lean into the gameplay aspects way more. Balatro, as mentioned, but that is one of the games I played the most in last year, and that's because it is so gameplay focused. I love a good story. I love some lore, but I'm really, really getting not upset, but I can't do video games that last 100+ hours anymore. Even as I say, Like a Dragon is coming out in a few weeks, and I will play that. It's just too much. There are so many of them that what would have been fascinating and interesting for me as a kid, now I don't have the time that I used to, and I would much rather a shorter game that is principally on gameplay. What about you, Chugs?
Right. No, that's so true. But for me, Uno, I have two game genres that before I was not into at all, and now they're two of my favorites. The first one being a very large open world game, actually. I remember when I first started really, really getting into gaming in my adult life, I remember I was playing Fallout 4. And when I first started Fallout 4 and got out into the open world, I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know where to go, what to do. So I actually stopped playing. I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. Then I played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Mm-hmm. And then I became obsessed with open world games and how incredible they were. Then I went back and played Fallout 4 and I loved it. So it took me until I played The Witcher 3 to really appreciate and enjoy a proper open world game. Before that, again, it just wasn't for me. It was too overwhelming. The other one, shockingly enough, were Metroidvania games. When I first started really getting into gaming, I was not at all interested in Metroidvania games at all, until I played Hollow Knight. And then when I played Hollow Knight, then I wanted to go back and play all the classics like Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Ender Lilies and Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Now it's like one of my favorite genres ever. So my gaming tastes have certainly changed. Again, when I first started gaming, you could not get me to play an open world game or a Metroidvania game. Now they are absolutely two of my favorite genres by far, based on some of the incredible games that I've played from both genres. So yeah, for me, it's definitely changed over time, and I'm sure it'll continue to change. I actually constantly tell myself that I want to try as many different genres as possible and get as into as many different games as I possibly can. But yeah, open world games and Metroidvanias for me were a big one that I now love dearly.
Great question, Jeremy. And honestly, it just takes one good game for me to start venturing into like a separate part of video game worlds. Satisfactory was mentioned on this one. It's about building giant factories, and to me, I couldn't give a damn about that. But I did try Satisfactory, and within 2 hours, I was like, oh no, I get it. Should I start getting into these things? So it just takes one very good game to start opening and broadening your horizons when it comes to video games. Thanks again, Jeremy. Great question. Final question from Liam. Liam says, hey, Chugs and Uno, big fan of the show. Thank you very much, Liam. Thank you.
So I work at GameStop, and a guy recently came in and traded in his near mint PS Vita and 6 to 7 PS Vita games, a few rare games too, for less than $70 trade-in value. Mm-hmm. Wow. The guy said they've just been collecting dust and didn't want to go through the trouble of putting it on eBay. Anyways, my question for you is, what is the best and or worst deal that you can remember getting on a video game transaction, and were you the buyer or the seller? Liam, great question. So for me, I am a massive video game collector. If anyone who's watching the video portion of this podcast can kind of see a little bit of my background, where I'm starting to slowly put everything on display. I love collecting anything and everything related to video games. And the two that kind of stick out to me, as far as one there where I maybe didn't get a great deal, is I had spent a pretty good amount of money on a mint condition PSP, like launch edition in the box. I was so excited for this because one of the things I started focusing on first was collecting consoles as well as handheld consoles. So again, the PSP, so cool. I was so excited to add it to the collection in the box. When I received the item, the box was just absolutely destroyed. And it wasn't even the seller's fault per se. It was just the way it was handled in the mail. So that was a massive bummer, especially considering what I spent on it. And for me personally, the best deal I feel like I've ever gotten, actually, I still spent a decent amount of money on this console, but I do think that 10, 20, 30 years from now, this is going to be worth so much. Just for a couple $100, I got a launch edition with a certificate, complete in box, of the Magnavox Odyssey, which is the first ever video game console ever. And I'm noticing as years go on, it's becoming worth more and more and more. For sure. And it's incredible. First of all, the console, it's so cool because it has a little certificate saying that it was produced for the holiday of 1972. It comes with every cable. It comes with all the physical overlays, because with the Magnavox Odyssey, you had to use your imagination. There were just 2 dots on the screen, and you would put physical overlays on the screen. It has all of that. And the fact that I was able to get a complete in-box, great condition Magnavox Odyssey for only a couple $100, I really do feel like as time goes on, that's going to be worth a lot of money. So that was probably the best deal I got.
Unreal. On my side, it's funny you mentioned GameStop, because when I was a teenager, from the age of 16 until I think 24, I worked at a video game / video rental store. What is now called GameStop in Canada used to be Microplay. It's now called EB Games, and it's essentially you can trade in your video games, and you could trade in your consoles and stuff. And so back when I worked at Microplay, a lot of people would bring in their video games, and I would never think twice. I would either purchase them with my they would bring it in, and then I would purchase it with like my work credit. But one day, somebody brought in a Dreamcast in a box, a boxed Dreamcast. It had been open. It did not have like it didn't it wasn't sealed. So the box was there, the manuals were there, the wires were there, but it was not sealed. And consoles did not trade for a lot. I believe it was $25, and I could get for $25 was the trade-in. So the lady was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that for $25." And I said, "Hey, I hate to do this, but we're going to take it for $25 and we're going to sell it for $50. Would you be willing for me to just give you $50 for this?" And she's like, "Yeah, not a problem." So I ended up, which you're not supposed to do as working there. I was never supposed to do that, take money away from the company. But I didn't care because now I still have that Dreamcast in a box. It is still in its box. It is in my home. And it's something I cherish tremendously. It's a deal that I felt like, wow, I cannot believe I would get a boxed Dreamcast for so low. One quick subject too. You mentioned, what about selling? I don't believe in selling your collectibles. I know you are similar to me, but like, I've been collecting since I'm a kid, and even though I have all these extra consoles, I think I have 5 PS4s. I have so many PS1s. I think I have actively 6 different N64s in my house of different color. I don't believe in selling them. I may give some of them as gifts to my friends sometimes. Sometimes if someone's looking for an N64, I'll be like, "Here you go. I've got one of 6. Enjoy your Christmas. I hope you're having a great time." But to me, like, the value of them isn't worth the money I would trade it in. I don't have a ton of high value items, but I would much rather own my box Dreamcast and sell it for $150 on eBay. I much prefer owning it. They're so rare to get, and I think it's a fixture of my house. I like where it is. I don't believe in selling it. I understand if you do. I do not personally. But a great question.
Absolutely.
A great question.
Yeah, great question. Great question. And Uno, I just wanted to mention that I am absolutely with you on that one. Is being able to have these collectibles, also because we cherish them so much. It just means a lot to us. Like you said, of course, selling is incredibly important. I've got a lot of my collectibles from people who have sold. But Uno, I am with you. I am definitely probably never going to be the person who sells a lot of this stuff, because it's just so cool to have and so cool to cherish. But Liam, amazing question.
Thank you to everyone that sent their questions today. If you want your questions answered here on All Elite Arcade, you can do so. Go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. North America only, unfortunately, but go in there, send us your questions. We pick 3 every single show, and it is by far our favorite part of the show every single week. So thank you very much. Hey, you can watch All Elite Arcade on our YouTube, youtube.com/AEW Games. It comes in Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time every single week. Plus, on Thursdays, we also have the Bronami Code. That's MXM's little interview show where they play video games with a pro wrestler every single week on Thursdays, also on youtube.com/AEW Games. We're also on Twitch, twitch.tv/AEW Games, Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. MXM are joined in by some people. Sometimes it's us, sometimes it's others. Go check it out. Plus, I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/EvilUno. You can find me next week. I'll be playing a bunch of video games. Chugs, where are you at?
And I am also at twitch.tv/thechugs as well, playing a wide variety of different games. 5, as a matter of fact. But yes, twitch.tv/thechugs.
So make sure you check us out. We are streaming every single week. Come and join in. Come and play some video games with us. Watching on the fun. That is it for this week. We will be back next Monday, wherever you get your podcasts. As always, we hope you have a good day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.